All right, let's get started. This is going to be the lecture for 6.2, Empire of Mali. The essential question is very similar to that of Ghana. It's what caused the rise and the fall of the Mali Empire. Now, when you write your summaries, I noticed last week a lot of people who wrote the summary did not answer both parts of this question. You need the rise and the fall of the empire. So let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead and type this question in the first section. This is for Sundiata makes Mali an empire, the beginnings of the empire. So the question for this section is, how did Mali begin to gain strength and power? So Mali's control along the Niger River allowed its people to control the trade. Through this trade, Mali became very rich and powerful. Sundiata was the first ruler of Mali. We're going to watch a little video on Sundiata here in just a minute. Legends say he was a mighty warrior and a magician. So he is very into superstitions and magic, the trick of hand, the illusions, things like that. The former king of Mali did not treat its people well, but Sundiata did. So he was able to really gain the people's trust and loyalty. He built up a great army and won Mali's independence. He continued to conquer many lands, including Ghana. So remember how Ghana, one of the reasons why it fell was the invasions of the Almoravids. And so basically what's going to happen next is that Mali is going to conquer Ghana from them as well. The next question, so this is about the improvements in Mali. What does Sundiata do to improve Mali? So go ahead and write this question. What led to the improvements in Mali? This section, you're going to read page 137 and take notes from the video on the next slide. We will watch this live in class, and I will also post the YouTube link. The YouTube link does not always work, so you might have to watch it on a separate device, but we will watch it in class so that you can continue to take notes. And this is going to be the Empire of Mali, and this is mainly going to be focused on Sundiata. So we'll watch this live in class. Okay, so the consolidation of power, you're going to create your own notes your own question for this section of notes. Here's Sundiata here. Sundiata took power away from the local leaders. He took the title of Mansa for himself, and it's the title that all the leaders bore after him. Mansa had political and religious authority in the society. Thus, Sundiata took on even more power in Mali. So he's not only controlling it politically, but he's also controlling it religiously. The religion grew out of the tradition of Malayan beliefs. So you're going to read this section called Religious Beliefs. I want you to include two more notes from this section, one about the religious beliefs and one about the death of Sundiata. So those are the two notes I want you to take, one on the religious beliefs and one on the death of Sundiata. So let's take a look at Mansa Musa. So remember, Mansa is the name, the title given to all the rulers from here on. So Mansa Musa was Mali's most famous ruler. The question for this section is, who was Mansa Musa? There's an entire page, I believe it's on page 141, where it's an entire biography on Mansa Musa that you could read as well. Mali reached its height of wealth, power, and fame in the 1300s under Mansa Musa. So he made it the biggest, the grandest, the most powerful. He helped spread Islam through the large part of West Africa. He ruled Mali for about 25 years, and during this time, his army captured many of the large trade cities, including Timbuktu, Gao, and Jen. So these ones are going to be, if you remember, we talked about Timbuktu earlier, and then Gao and Jen are going to be ones also that are going to be large trade cities. So we have Kumbai Soleil, which was, if you remember, the Ghana capital. And then we have Jen, Gao, and Timbuktu along the Niger River. Okay. The world learns about Mali. So, a good question for this section is, how does the world come to know about Mali? It's going to be a great question. So, in 1324, Mansa Musa took his famous Hajj, or pilgrimage, to Mecca. So, remember, he brought Islam to Mali. He is an Islamic leader, and he's going to take his Hajj to Mecca. What he does during this Hajj really brings Mali to the forefront in the world's eyes. So he had a very elaborate Hajj. He basically paraded the wealth of Mali as he did this Hajj. So he took 100 camels, and each of those camels are carrying 300 pounds of gold. So you can see 100 camels, 300 pounds of gold. He's showing the world how wealthy Mali is. He also brought 60,000 men on this Hajj with him. So that's good, obviously, for the spread of Islam, but also is to show how powerful his army is, that he is surrounded by all these men who are very loyal to him. He gave away so much gold in Cairo, Egypt, that it really no longer had much value because he was giving so much of it away. If you give it all away for free, it's going to lose value. So unfortunately, even though it brought Mali to the forefront and showed people how rich Mali was, the price of gold, it did drop quite a bit, and this is going to hurt them economically. Later, he's giving away all their resources. His Hajj, however, did introduce Mali to the world as a great and powerful empire. Mali became famous throughout of Africa, Asia, and Europe. You can kind of see this is Mansa Musa on his Hajj, dripping in gold, men carrying him down the streets. Very elaborate. So, learning about religion in Mali, how did Mansa Musa spread Islam? Kind of gave you a little bit of insight with his Hajj there. So you're going to take your own notes on this section on page 138 to 140 of the textbook, and you're going to add your own notes to this section. And now the fall of Mali. How did Mali's growth eventually weaken the empire? Make sure you have that typed on the questioning side. So Magan, Mansa Musa's son, took the throne, and he was a very weak leader. So Mansa Musa, all-powerful, very powerful man. His son, not so much. Raiders set fire to Timbuktu schools and mosques, and unfortunately, when they burnt this down, they burnt down a lot of history as well. A lot of religious history and a lot of history on the empire. Mali never fully recovered from the attacks and gradually started to decline. It was also, once again, we've seen this throughout all of history, and we're going to continue to see this when we get to China, when we get to Japan. Some of these empires are just too large for one person to rule. They don't know how. So once again, it becomes too large for anybody to govern. Gao declared its independence in the 1400s, and when they gain their independence, they become their own empire, which is the Songhai Empire. And the Songhai Empire we are going to study in 6.3. So Gao is this little city. It breaks off, but when it breaks off, it also brings a giant chunk of land surrounding the Niger River with it. And the Niger River, is one of the main routes for trade. So it's going to become a very powerful empire on its own. And gradually, the other cities declare their own independence as well. So at this point, you guys know the drill. You're going to make sure you go back and check anything that you missed. You're going to read the different sections in your textbook to make sure that you are fully filling in your notes. You're going to watch the video with us in class. You're going to then bold and underline vocabulary and keywords, highlight main ideas. Highlighting the topics does not count as highlighting main ideas. Under each topic, you should have something highlighted in each topic that you believe is a main idea. You want to make sure you create 2 questions. There's 2 sections that don't have a question that I give you, so you want to make sure you create your questions. Type the questions I do give you in the questioning column, and then finally answer the essential question within your summary in 2 to 3 sentences. And that's it. That is the Empire of Mali. We're going to spend, just like we did on Ghana, almost a whole week on each empire to get to know all of it, the ins and outs of everything, how it rose, how it fell, what their trade was like. So we're going to be spending quite a bit of time on Mali. And then in 6.3, we will move on to Songhai.